It's the A7FL 3-on-1 podcast. I'm Matt Ryan, joined alongside Big Rob Fabian and Corey Hammond, and someone found their Zoom backgrounds. Rob having fun.
Not me.
I'm sorry, bro.
We needed that. It has been an interesting 7 days in the American Sevens Football League. And as we head towards the playoffs, guys, are you excited to not have to do a top 10 after a certain point? Because
I feel like after we're done with the actual unofficial, official, AP, because we are the Associated Press of the A7FL officially.
We definitely are.
Once we're done with like the team top 10, I feel like we're just going to have to move into other top 10s, and everybody's going to be just on notice at that point. And because we don't know what the top 10 is going to be, they don't know how to prepare. And unlike the net point conversation, which turned into maybe the highest differential of points in the history of the league.
Do we want to look at before we go into the top 10, do we want to look at the scoreboard for the week? Because
But let me just first say, as we look at the beautiful thing in the background here with this Omegas, even though we got blown out, and shout outs to the Renegades who might have even made their case for one of the things we were just talking about. The point differential went down, though. We were the only team that I think closed the gap.
A little bit, yeah.
45 is less than 60, whatever.
Nice. It is improvement. There's levels to this game. And Corey playing 6D chess right now. It's not 3D chess. It's not 4D chess. My man's playing in 6 dimensions.
Hey, listen, first of all, we got to be optimistic. Yes, we're 0-5. We're not going to hide from it. Yes, we have the worst point differential in the league. But yes, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Omegas, based on the battles that we have week in and week out, if we were to face one of these other bottom tier teams, around the country, I feel like we would have a chance against those teams, even if they want to talk their own shit because their point differential is a little bit better.
Yeah.
Or they manage to score, 28, 27 or whatever against the defense that's literally just standing there and not attempting to try to stop the offense.
And Rob, news around the league, coaching change, which is weird to say in the A7FL, as Anthony Bartley is resigned from the Vegas Pit Bosses. He's moving on to other endeavors. Coach Q, who we saw in the fall with the Insomniacs, will be taking over for the final couple of weeks of the season. Good luck to Coach Q and the members of the Pit Bosses. And we wish everybody involved with that luck. But let's move on to the scores from this past week.
But just real quick, because that was something that let's just give it a little bit of a headstone to it. Is that not the quickest fall from grace in the history of the A7? We went from a fall champion, and then 2 weeks later we started the season, and it seems like the Scooby-Doo meme, and where if we pull off the mask of those pit bosses, they look an awful lot like the last year in fall Insomniacs, and if you pull off the mask of the Insomniacs, all of a sudden is that the dream team that you guys played Endeavor out there in the Battle of Bullhead? What's going on?
But we will be back actually out there in July. Corey won't be there alone. Me, Rob, and Corey will be in Anderson Automotive Fieldhouse calling the action.
Looking for SGBs somewhere.
I get to meet all you guys in person for the first time. And then I get to feel that, damn, you're actually big Rob. Yes, that's why my first name is Big.
Yeah, middle name Rob, last name Fabian. It's like a Tribe Called Quest. You just got to say it all together.
Say the whole thing.
You know what I got? People thought I was taller for some reason. They're like, you're shorter than I thought. I was like, hold up.
You look taller on camera, Corey. It's the way you know what I'm saying?
I got that best. I talk about My Hero all the time. I got that best genist neck, right?
But yeah. Yeah, you
Go
do.
ahead.
So let's talk about the scores around the league, our 3 games of the week. The Patterson, you got the win over the Silk City Animals in a game that I initially thought was going to be closer. They got the win 39-12. The BIC were not the 80 boys, but they still got in a thunderstorm in what we considered monsoon conditions. We got to talk about that part of it. They got the win 40-12. The Snow Tribe being able to get 2 scores on the board, and the Renegades did defeat the Omegas 45-0. That rain delay was one of the more interesting experiences of my time in this league, full of interesting experiences. Because when we went off the air with that first game, Will Franklin came in, and all the players came in, because they were starting to walk on the field. And then we just start seeing people come back in, and we're like, what's going on? Like, we ended that first game a little early. We had some time between the two games. Right. And then everybody on the Snow Tribe was in our studio. And then everybody from the BIC was in the studio. And I think I said this on the air. It started to feel like a lock-in. Like we were at the aquarium or something. And we did that because there was lightning. And we are on the water. And that's a bad situation.
Very bad. And
in Ohio, it was fucking thunder hailing. Thunder hail.
And we cut.
He's not joking.
I'm not ribbing.
And we cut to the field, and we're like, is that snow?
Right.
Is that snow? The field had that frosted white on the top.
Yeah.
We cut away from the field. We cut back to the field.
It looked like a mini wheat.
Now it's green.
Yeah.
It looked like a mini wheat.
It did look like a mini wheat. And I guess they turned the field over because then it looked like the other side of a mini wheat because there was no frosting.
Right.
Weather.
It's a motherfucker.
I think that's probably one of the worst weather weekends in A7FL history.
Was it worse than the first week of 21 though? Because
that was just in one place because we had Baltimore, we had New Jersey, saw what happened in Ohio.
And in Vegas and LA, it was just beautiful weather. It was were taunting us.
I just got a text. Don't forget to remember there was a slight cloud cover and those teams in Vegas. LA was fine. The Aces took care of business out there, but the slight cloud cover in Vegas, there was like the glare was weirder. And it affected some of the guys. So the Vegas slight cloud cover, Baltimore had a hurricane, New Jersey had a monsoon, and whatever happened in Ohio happened, and it was on camera, or I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then the Nightcrawlers had 67 points in the second quarter. So yeah.
Wait, that was in the snow. The final score was 62-0. Let's take a look at the scores.
Jeez.
So then the most recent post that I saw was an absolute lie, and chalk, I'm coming for you. I don't know how.
But we're looking at the scores here on the screen, guys. The Insomniacs are the new record holders until probably this Sunday, as they defeated the Gold 86-0 with the highest point differential in A7FL history. A week before that, the OTT got a 92-38 loss, but the OTT resolved that by scoring 84 of their own points.
Yeah, because apparently Savion Cunningham is just an automatic 40 out there, just on 3-on-1s. And they all know it's happening. And I listened to the other side of the ball, check out the other side of the ball. We got a Viking on there now. We got a Dub on there now, and Chris Farah. And one of the things that Chris Farah said is that they were asking themselves, well, why does Savion Cunningham even allow other guys to do it? That's the conversation. Not, how do you tackle him? Because they just can't figure it out. Their thing. And why would he ever allow someone else to do it? And if you're having that conversation, then, hey, man, him and Lavish T out there on the 3-on-1 specifically. Lavish T for sticking
Lavish T is going crazy.
Problem. Those dudes are problems.
Their overall output might be at a higher level than Shanti-worthy. It's yet to be seen what 3-on-1 coverage the type of coverage they're facing. To allow that kind of thing. But they got to be at least in the conversation with the Shanti-worthy.
For sure.
For sure.
And when we look at the Nevada scores, let's run through them really quick. 86-0. The OTT won 84-36. The Force win 53-0. The Sick With It win 52-6. We look at Florida. The Ghost lose to the Nightcrawlers 62-0. The closest game of the week was the Crush and the Volcanoes. They got a 25-24 win to the Volcanoes. Their first win in their team's history, so congrats.
Shout out to the Volcanoes. Olatangi, baby.
Shout out to Olatangi.
That pterodactyl on top of that volcano standing up right now with his wings in the air. Let's go.
They're called Olentangy because they leave your faces full of tang at the end of it. They just pour orange powder over you. That's why their color is orange.
Exactly.
And the Chaos are undefeated. They defeated the Heist 26-0, and the Watchmen eviscerate the Buzz 60-0.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm not gonna.
I'm surprised.
That.
Yeah, that one was a weird one to me. I didn't expect that to happen.
What did I say before all the games? We talk about net points. That's what we use to decide. And all of a sudden, all these teams are like, throttled down, no sportsmanship.
Hey,
but even then, like, we have this interesting class problem in the A7FL. And I think New Jersey's done a lot of course correction because of necessity. Because you look at what the Animals did in the offseason. You look what the Snow Tribe and the Renegades did in the offseason. They're more competitive in these games than they were a year ago, 2 seasons ago.
Well, and those 2 games, the 1 o'clock and the 4 o'clock, you look at the first halves of those games.
Right.
They're games.
Yeah.
You even look, and I'm on the Omegas, and I'm always shouting them out, but you even look at some of the Omegas games, 12-0 at half against both the Snow Tribe and the Renegades. As bad as our point differentials have been, the Boston Omegas, even those games still, aren't the, wow, it's the second quarter, and Insomniacs have 50-0. You know what I mean? So that course correction, I think, even though you look at the final scores, they do end up where the momentum kind of kicks in. It's interesting. Both of those games at 1 and 4 o'clock in that weather seemed almost like the exact same game at times.
Yeah, and you remarked that you made a note of that when we were on the air on Sunday, and you can watch those games back on A7FL.TV or internationally on DAZN. When you look at the teams in Nevada and Florida, you see the elite level of athlete that exists out there.
And Ohio.
But there's more. Yeah, like, we have to look at it to scale. Because in Ohio, there's obviously a number 1 team. The Chaos are the number 1 team.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. In comparison to the component parts of their division,
yeah,
we have that hierarchy that you're talking about.
And you look at Nevada, and they jump the line in a lot of ways. And we talk about this off the air in our group chat that Rob occasionally reads.
When it's going good, he's always in there.
Yeah. When it's me and Corey just dicking and farting around in there, Rob wants nothing to do with it. But when
except for to say pause.
Oh yeah. But when you look at how Nevada speed ran their development in this league, I think that's what's caused a disparity. And there are 3 teams that are making a compelling argument to be considered at the top of this league, or in the argument to be one of the upper tier teams. We all have a consensus 1 team that we see as a potential competitor to a BIC, to a U, to a Watchman. But then there are the other teams that are starting to make a case, but it's hard to figure out whether or not when we get into the national playoff, if their number gets called, if they go on a run, when they step into Anderson Automotive Fieldhouse on July 23rd, will they own the moment or will they shrink? Because the Force, last year, they stepped up, they answered the call, they won 1, they lost 1. I think that the Insomniacs can put up one hell of a fight against whoever they face. I think.
Well, how about this?
I have a hot take for you.
You go first, Rob, but I think it might even be the same hot take that I'm about to make.
Well, and mine's going to be quick. There's literally no one in Vegas better than the Insomniacs right now.
Okay.
Honestly, the only team that can come to the East and give BIC, the U, and the Watchmen even a little bit of a challenge is the Insomniacs. The other take.
No. Let me follow that one.
I got you. The other take, it's still along the same lines. if those three teams that I mentioned, if BIC, the Watchmen, or the U don't pay attention, then Insomniacs are gonna bust their ass, and Vegas might have their first champion.
All right, now, all right,
gotta be careful.
So I think there's a little machine right now that's printing out a little tiny little this approximate side of paper. So let me just. I think that Rob, this might be one of the best little segments of a show we've ever done. Rob says that about the Insomniacs, and that's basically a mid-season, 3/4 of the way through the regular season coronation of the Vegas champs. Now I will say this. When was the last time the Insomniacs actually played a meaningful A7FL football game, guys?
Week 1.
And who was it against?
Sick with it.
And what has Sick with it done?
Would you say that, though? Because I think that game against the Force was very meaningful. I think that was a changing of the guard game.
I think it meant more to us than it did the win. I mean, they won.
But you can't blame that for you can't blame them for having that schedule. You can't.
I'm not. And I'm not. No disrespect to them. And I obviously, I'm one of the three that when we do the top 10 that we will release later, I unanimously with you guys put them where we put them. So I do respect them. I respect their entire roster. I like what they do. And I've even been trying to kind of imagine what their offensive line would do against some of the more elite defensive lines. And I think at least based on what they've put on tape that they could hang at minimum.
Sick, right?
No, I'm talking about Insomniacs specifically right now. But my point is, and then we got off the rails. I wanted it to just be back to back. So Matt's better at this. He might be able to cut this into a clip, and then we can post it on Twitter and Reddit where I see things because that's where I'm sure. But how hard is it, Rob? And you know this from experience, from years and years and years of facing the same teams both in the regular season and then having to come back and beat or unfortunately not beat that same team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I've suffered that a few times.
The Insomniacs, the last time they played a meaningful football game was week 1 of this regular season, and we could almost assume that based on where the playoff structures aligned, that the first round of their playoffs is likely going to be against a team like, for instance, the Kryptonite, or like an OTT or one of those like tail in extra game bracket teams can play them. So that the first round of their playoff game is probably going to be a very similar outcome that we've seen. But likely, based on what we've seen, who are they going to face in that Nevada championship?
Sick.
And how many points did they beat Sick in week 1?
3.
So the separation of those teams, in my opinion, might be a lot wider because that was the first time the Insomniacs as a group played with each other. That's the first time Sick with it as a group played with each other. And both of those teams can and probably should have evolved since. But what I'm saying is that as easy as the sled has been, and as the trend in Vegas is that the guys that are in that top spot, they do all of the wrong things at times. Now, I'm not saying the Insomniacs have ever shown that, because when Sick with it put up 92, they were on a mission and came to play against the Gold, and a game that they could have, kind of like messed around with, they put up 86 and allowed nothing. So I'm not saying that this is a definite, but Rob, as you say that there's no competition in Vegas for them, I would agree with all but one of the teams that I've seen so far. Yeah. And if they make it to the Vegas championship and lose to Sick with it, all of the time that they spent at the number 1 on our top 10, it's absolute fucking garbage. Congratulations on the participation trophy. Their biggest challenges are way ahead of them, and they better stay on the right track and know that nothing means anything until they get past those guys.
And that's where I kind of messed up, where I didn't give Sick with it any credit. I was really just talking about how good
they are in comparison to what you would assume from an out-of-state team. That's what I think what you were saying is that, hey, BICU, Watchmen, pay attention to the squad.
Pay attention. I'm telling them that because I'm an East Coast guy. I'm a Northeast guy.
But I'll say this.
Guys, I'm talking to 3 championship teams. We're talking about Ace, John Goss from the Watchmen, the Watchmen's quarterback, who is a championship player in this league. He won a chip in 2018. We're talking about all those guys on the U and all the chips they have, and the BIC guys who just got a taste of their second championship. I'm talking to those three guys, the guys that I know, the guys that I've had battles with, I've played with. I'm talking to them. The last time we underestimated someone was 2 years straight. And well, it was all in the Northeast, but it happened 2 years straight to New Jersey. We underestimated Baltimore. What happened in 2018?
Championship.
We underestimated the Immortals in 2019. What happened? Pennsylvania championship. I'm just saying, I would not like, listen, the Insomniacs have the best chance. Sick With It is not ready for the big dance. They're just not. This is just my
and maybe not,
opinion.
Maybe not, because a lot of those guys are new to league.
Right.
But I will say this: a lot of those guys are from that Pitbull team. If we rip up
they ball.
But what I'll say is this: you're speaking to the New Jersey guys. They better pay attention to the Insomniacs. I'm speaking directly to the Insomniacs that when you play Sick With It, that was your biggest test, and you better man up and take that shit personally, because that's your biggest obstacle into right now, at least, to getting to the next stage. True. And then maybe even the Aces, and maybe even the Aces, who last year went almost down to the wire with the Vegas champs, the Force, and beat the Force earlier in the season. So,
and they got to contend with them, because the Nevada and LA teams are rooted in the play. They're in the same playoff tree.
And no disrespect to the Aces, we haven't seen enough. That's the only reason why we can't give you your flowers now.
And you're not getting flowers. Yeah. But I will warn the Insomniacs, even if they beat Sick With It, if they go, we got this, we already booking our plane tickets to Ohio to play the Chaos. Be careful.
Gotta be careful, man. This is where it gets sticky.
Careful.
This is where somebody can get too cocky. This is where some teams can get too hot. This is where some teams there's teams that have been waiting for this very moment to get hot.
You know what it is, Rob?
It's a conversation about depth too. Corey, please go ahead.
You know what it is, Rob? When you let's go through the hypothetical scenario, and if the Insomniacs beat Sick With It in a championship game that's like really tough, and they're really excited about themselves, they're holding up a trophy and they're really excited, and they're like, we got that, stupid California team next week, whatever. A couple guys don't show up, they're like, they got this with, we got a deep roster. I'm not even going to go out there. That's not how this works. That's not how this works.
It doesn't work like that.
And I think
and you better not be dancing in the fourth quarter if the game's not over.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
If you're not up by a sufficient amount and there's time left on the clock and you're hitting the Park Heights Boogie or the Patterson Bop or the Silk City Shuffle, the Sin City Watusi, I don't know what the fuck, but that might be the episode
roulette
title.
Rumba.
Yeah.
The roulette rumbo. What's a R? I said
Rumba.
That's
Rumba. Yeah, Rumba works.
I'm just so white. I just changed it 3 times.
Hell, am I not the whitest guy in this podcast?
I don't know.
But when we talk about these Vegas teams. And Rob, this is something you've said about yourself. If it's not an important game at certain points in your career, players won't show up. And I think that's we've seen that with Matt Riddick this year. We've seen that with Courage Mosey this year. We've seen that with a lot of BIC players. Is it when you hit the playoffs? Because right now for the BIC, and we'll talk about this when we get into the top 10, every game's a playoff game. Because there is no undefeated team in the Northeast. There's no clear top 2 seeds. And the top 2 seeds in the Northeast get a first-round bye. Right. So and we talked about this on the air and off the air. Do you want that first-round bye? Do you want that week off?
If I'm BIC, I want that bye. Last week I said they wouldn't want the bye. They want to keep playing. After what I've seen, after what I've heard, if I'm BIC, I do want that bye. We are in the Northeast. We are in the toughest division in the A7FL. That 1 week break would be very, very beneficial to a team like BIC, who, I don't know if you guys have noticed, they're going to get hot. They're getting hot. They look a lot better than they did week 1. BIC's getting hot.
I'll ask you this. Who have we not seen on their defensive line in a couple of weeks because of injury?
Variety's just chilling. He's not even hurt. He's not hurt.
And so he's not hurt, and that's good to hear. But There's that. I've also heard rumors about BIC. So if I were the league, I would keep your eyes
keep an
open.
eye on BIC. Listen,
we're not going to give you any
I'm not
specifics on the rumors.
I'm not giving y'all shit.
Oh, come on! I'm right here, bro.
I'm just saying, BIC is very dangerous. They're very dangerous late season and in playoffs. Be careful. Be careful with BIC. That's
Look, I heard that they have a secret weapon. They have a secret weapon that will only come out if they're up by 5 touchdowns or more. We don't know who the secret weapon is. We heard he might be related to Endeavor. We're not sure. But
it's DJ Mike. It's DJ Mike, right, Rob?
DJ Mike.
But what I will say is that in the coming weeks, I hope to see that secret weapon in the exact garb that he demonstrated for both of those teams in that rain delay.
Hey,
God, yo.
This is an upper body business. This is an upper body. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just saying it's an upper body business. And sometimes you need to be comfortable in a monsoon.
Matt's in his drawers right now.
Monsoon or clear weather, comfort is key.
We're sitting. I mean, that person's sitting in a chair for 12 hours straight, and he needed better pants. That's all I'm gonna say.
That secret weapon is the prince that was promised, multitasking, the dragon with 3 heads, all of that. Now, we're talking about playoffs, and I think what's interesting is as we talk about these playoffs, some of these other like sub conversations are popping up. But one thing I would kind of like to kind of get your guys' take on and maybe try to pinpoint is, in the A7, a lot of times in the playoffs, especially early, it's chalk, right? Teams are already slotted, they're already better. It is what it is. They show up and they take care of business. What is the one spot, whether it's a division or a specific team or a place where you think maybe the chalk would be vulnerable? What is your guys' take on what might be the biggest, team or situation upset-wise in the upcoming playoffs?
If I'm the Animals or the Renegades, I would be elated to play spoiler. They're going to put me on the path to play certain teams that I've played before, and then I get a shot at the big dogs after, the wild card week. And those guys, those 2 teams are the only 2 teams, honestly, that can really play spoiler and shock the world. But they're in decent spots because they're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna make it. There's only 1 team in the hunt 2 teams in the hunt right now,
and they decide that on Sunday.
They decide that on Sunday. So after Sunday, the last game that's played on Sunday, clinched. That's it. We know what's going on.
We're playing for seeding at that point.
Yeah, everything is seeding at that point.
And to give an update on the East.
This weekend is Scuzz and Blow?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, taking a look at the Northeast right now, there's a 3-way tie for first that's broken up by net points. So right now,
4-way, isn't it?
It's 4-way.
4-way, yeah, technically 4-way tie. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm stupid.
How is that? How do you even figure that out?
Net points. That's how it's broken down. That's how it's broken down on the web. It's net points.
Because the thing is also right now at least there's some of them that don't have a common opponent, and the weirdest thing is that the Watchmen aren't going to play the Animals if somehow those teams. That's crazy. All right, anyway.
Well, right now, the Watchmen would have to lose on Sunday to the Renegades to
which
fall.
Which is not out of the question. It's not out of the question.
Any given Sunday.
It's not likely, but that defense can kind of neutralize a lot that's going on.
Yeah, I like that Renegades defense, but the same issues that we've talked about with that offense is the issues we've had all season.
Now, the guy that they've been having at quarterback the past couple of games, Chris, he does seem to have a little bit of a grasp of the position. He does kind of, I see him running the offense that they've always, they were pushing it on me, and I was like, I don't know. And I could see the benefit of some of the things they were doing. in the 3-day stint that I had on their roster early in the preseason this year. But it's DeAndre Haynes is actually missing from a lot of the film and tape and making all these impact plays. But it's not because his impact is any less. He's taken the role on defense to be the guy that gets double teamed.
And
that's not a little job.
No, it isn't, and
That's
it's opened the door
job
for Trey Baskerville.
Exactly, and so he's also been the guy that when they're on offense, I would say as a personal friend of his, a really close friend of his, but also as an analyst on this, I have no shame in saying that I feel like he has to step his game up in catching the ball a little bit more consistently. But when he's not catching the ball, he's making impact plays by blocking 2 or 3 people at once.
DeAndre Hayes, you're being nice because he's your friend. I love the guy, but he has to step it the fuck up. I'm not going to lie to you.
What I'm saying is,
Trey Baskerville playing at the level he's playing, let's just be real here.
Sure.
Just imagine if DeAndre Hayes was playing like he was playing a year ago or the year before.
But this is a question coming from someone who hasn't played and just looks at the game from a fan and analyst perspective. You need the guy to set the pick. You need the guy to draw the distraction. Is that the best possible role right now for DeAndre Haynes because of the ability for Trey Baskerville to get free from pursuit and get to the quarterback?
Well, what you see on defensive line is the way that they line up now is instead of putting DeAndre at that defensive end position where he's got the one-on-one matchup, he's playing D tackle. So he's actually usually absorbing either the main bulk of the blocking or the double team, which has freed up the better opportunities for both of those defensive ends, specifically Trey Baskerville, obviously on a defensive player of the year type of run this year with over 15 sacks, but also Malik.
He might break the record.
Yeah, and we got to go back in the film because he is basically about to break the record, so we have to verify it.
What is the record? Is it 20?
Exactly. So, but the point is on defense, DeAndre is playing that role where he's not the main playmaker that gets the stat on defense, but his impact is not necessarily less just because we can't see it all the time when the play breaks down.
Here's a question.
The 3-on-1, he's still the thrower, he's still the tackler, and then on offense, all of the defenses that play them double team DeAndre. They have a linebacker, and a lot of times the guy who's rushing the quarterback, instead of rushing the quarterback, they're hanging on for dear life to a 6'8" monster. So the fact that he's not necessarily producing, Rob, I do agree with you. The type of caliber player that he is, he should be, when he gets those opportunities, he should capitalize. But his impact is still felt, and against the Watchmen, who, if we started talking about the guys on their roster, we would have a 2-hour-long show.
Sure.
He does have to make a couple of more plays on offense, and I think he has to, even though he's getting double teamed, he has to make just as much of an impact.
But I think that's a scapegoat. Y'all giving him a little bit of a scapegoat because let's be real, right? If it's a 4-man line and DeAndre's playing that linebacker-ish position, you know what I'm talking about, that hybrid kind of hanging in the middle, covering Trey Baskerville's on one side, Predators on the other side, and Big Angry's in the middle. That is a fucking amazing front four.
Yeah.
He should still be able to do something. Don't get me wrong. If Trey Baskerville is just getting there first and putting in the work, and if that's the case, that's just the case. I've
seen it firsthand.
Yeah,
Trey Baskerville got there first. I sidestepped him. He's got like 9-foot tentacles, grabbed me. I'm running around. I somehow still managed to be on my feet. Guess who was there? DeAndre smacks the ball out of my hand.
Also, can we shout out how athletic Corey looked on Sunday?
Oh, come on. I think it was just the weather. Everybody else was slip sliding around. I got those 1 1/4 inch cleats, which isn't true actually. My ankle's just finally healthy.
But
say something nice about you.
Here's a question.
Oh, it is you week. It is you week.
It is you week.
They are the preeminent franchise in the A7FL with the most championships, aren't they, Rob?
Time to be nice to J-Rock.
Oh boy.
If I literally said if I did a J-Rock sonnet right now, in Gaston character, he'd still come and try to crush me. No.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not praising J-Rock.
They're going to try to cook, serve, and
anyway.
reheat you, bro. And I hate that fact.
We set the net point conversation, and it's cool. But look, my guys out there and fight, except for one of them.
I have two questions. First question. Well, one question, and then I want to run through the playoff seeding because there's something very interesting about it. If that Renegades team is in any other division, are they a first place team?
Okay. Do they have the offense, Rob, to beat the Insomniacs in the matchup?
This is a hypothetical, right?
Yep.
Give me Corey Price.
If it's healthy across the board, they have Corey, they have Khalil Green.
Right now.
Let's split the question then. Fully healthy, current staff.
Fully healthy, they're number 2 in Vegas. Easily. Sick with it, can't hang.
What about Ohio?
They're number 1 in Ohio.
Okay.
They're
Florida.
Number 2 in Florida.
Okay. What about Cali?
I don't know what's going on in Cali. It's kind of,
you know what? They would be stuck in a haze out there. That's all.
And based off of what I've seen in Cali, when they did come out here, but that was 2 seasons ago. So it's like, ugh.
I don't even know.
Last year's team was pretty much par for par on the same level as the Force. Now they had some things better.
So the Renegades are number 1. Worse. So the Renegades are number 1 because
unless they got better, because the Aces could have got better. They
could have, but we can't see it. They would be number 2.
Kelly, send us the film. We'll watch it.
Yeah, they'd be number 2 in Vegas, 1 in Ohio, 2 in Florida, 1 in Las Vegas. It's only in the Northeast in New Jersey where the Renegades are straddling at 5 or 6 or wherever they're at. Healthy, but unhealthy, I still think they'd be pretty high up in Vegas. I still think they'd be like 3.
I think that the thing that would happen in a game head-to-head with the Renegades versus a lot of these teams is if you watch the film, it's not like the defenses on these rosters are devoid of any talent. We talk about defensive players in Vegas, in Florida, in Ohio, not really specifically in Ohio, but the Chaos defense does, put up numbers, and they have, almost more. They definitely have more points scored as a defense when they get like a turnover for a touchdown than they've allowed. They've only allowed 6 points all season. But the defensive line that the Renegades have, none of these offenses in any other division, except for the teams that maybe play the Nightcrawlers in Florida, have seen anything even close to that type of defensive intensity. And what you don't understand is that the type of athletes that Trey Baskerville and Dondre Haynes are, yes, they're enormous. I've seen big guys in the other divisions. But tell me on the planet how many people you've met, Rob, that are 6'5" or taller that can move the way that those two guys do, because I haven't seen it. I don't think they're human. And if we go too far into it, they might get back, they might get beamed back to their home planet, because that's basically what kind of time they're on, if I'm on sus timing, according to one of our commenters.
But let's talk about the playoff seeding, and then we'll wrap with the top 10.
Rob's reading a hate text right now from all the other teams in the league on a group text. They all got his number right now. He's now up to 1,800 texts unread.
In the Northeast, it's the Watchmen and the BIC is the top 2 seeds. So right now, the Watchmen and the BIC get that bye.
Okay.
1631
for those
Lord
listening to us wherever podcasts are sold.
How? In the 3 spot is the Patterson U. So they would play the Snow Tribe, who currently have the spot. So if the Snow Tribe hold on and get to where they gotta go, if they get another win, they'll be moving on to the wild card round.
Okay.
The Renegades are the 5 seed. So they would play the Animals. The Animals are the 4 seed right now in the East.
That's a game that they've called me to say that they want back. That's a game that they go on Facebook and they're saying, come on, Animals, play us instead of the Omegas. They're incentivized to get that. So if that holds, now what happens if the assumption of this weekend's games is that BIC manages whatever one way or another to beat the Animals, the U one way or another finds a way to beat the Omegas, right? Hypothetically. And the Watchmen hypothetically beat the Renegades. How does that shake out the playoff picture? It stays the same, right?
It would stay the same. It would stay the same.
It doesn't necessarily stay the same. It depends on their win margins.
If
No,
right
but,
now,
but the animals,
if the
but the
BIC,
animals would lose.
if the
Right.
animals
No.
lose, they would
right.
fall
Yeah,
to
'cause BIC,
4 and
yep.
2.
Yeah,
They
because
would
it's
stay
point
the 4 seed.
differential. Right,
Yeah.
Rob.
and
Okay,
that's
so
the thing with the animals. We don't. It's no disrespect to the animals, but we've established that we thought the animals were going to complete the season at 5-2. So even the loss to the U, we still look right. You know what I'm saying? If they lose to BIC, we still look right. They're 4-2. They're clean up last game of the season. It doesn't really change much. I didn't put the animals with the three-headed monster of the Watchmen, BIC, and the U. I had the animals as the front runner of the three-headed monster of the animals, the Renegades, and the Snow Tribe.
So
those are the,
right.
So
the top of the division, basically, if they win out, which they're favored to do, right?
Yeah, they're fighting each other. Basically.
Now the Renegades could throw a wrench in all of this because they play both the Watchmen and the U, which is a tough way to end the season.
Yeah.
But they're kind of solidified into that number, that 5 spot anyway.
What the Renegades
unless the animals collapse and the Renegades beat those 2 teams, that they can't.
If the Renegades win out, then it's an interesting. Then
no, because they have
the
but they have the loss to the animals head to head, so it doesn't even matter.
No. That doesn't matter. If they have a loss to the animals head to head, it ends up not mattering as much.
No, those matter. Head to heads matter.
Right. So if somehow the animals lose the next 2 games, which would be interesting, but if the Renegades win the next 2.
Listen, you guys are making it confusing because what happens is that, and if you're saying this is a hypothetical where the Renegades beat the U, correct?
Yes.
No.
It's a hypothetical.
Oh yeah, the
Renegades win out and get to 5-2.
Right. What I'm saying is,
they would be 4-3. Yeah.
No, listen. What I'm saying. If the Renegades hypothetically beat the U somehow magically, the U beat the animals. It is a net points battle. There's no more head to head. That's what I'm trying to get at.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it gets even crazier. All right, so let's not even do that. Let's just have it.
How
about let's talk about the bottom of the division, because we actually have a little pigtail, little cute little circle game, and an actual play-in game in the Northeast this weekend.
Yeah, the Snow Tribe and the DC Buzz will be one of the games we're focusing on this Sunday on the A7FL Games of the Week.
I'll give you my take.
And that's in DC?
No, that's in Jersey. That is our 4 o'clock game. You see it on the screen.
I'll give you my take right now, man.
What do you got?
This is it, Snow Tribe. This is the last time I can vote for you guys. This is the last time I can put my faith in the Snow Tribe. If the Snow Tribe do not win this game, I'm officially no longer a Snow Tribe fan, because they think I hate them anyway.
You're gonna hand in your banner, your commemorative pin, your T-shirts.
I'm gonna give Big Mike the hoodie back. I can't.
You got a Snow Tribe hoodie?
No, I don't. You know I would have worn it already.
Are we gonna have to give back those Azuna things? Because I already used mine.
I've used them.
Well, the Azuna is a fitting, so far on their season, Azuna is a fitting sponsor for them, because most of their games they've stunk.
I knew you were gonna say that shit.
Damn!
I knew you were gonna say that shit. You're
Matt brought it up, and I was trying not to. But I'll say this. I've been a fan of the roster that they've put together, because unequivocally, everybody that I talk to in the league, whether it's guys on the Animals, guys on BIC, they look at the roster, they look at the team that they put out there, and they look at the athletes. They look at that new tight end, number 0, Ricky, that was just throwing humans around like they were ants crawling off them at a barbecue in that Renegades game. The number 11, they got number 11 is a guy named Tevin from Kansas that plays corner. And I've worked with him in practice. I've seen the kind of talent level that he brings to the table. He's a new guy. And then it's all of the old characters. Marcel Chapman's been making big plays. You see Shane Turner wide open most of the time. Rob's going to groan, but Eddie Pettiot has been. There you go. But and then they got the running back Shug. They got Max Taylor. I was calling him Max McGee. I don't know why. But not to mention Lil Bolton, Darius Pearson. Then their defense. On and on and on and on, right? So they can salvage it just like they did last year. I feel like last year this was the exact moment where they just lost to BIC, and all of a sudden they went inside, they talked to each other, and then they fixed it. Well, it was nice that they got to play the Animals again and then the Covington Heist. I don't think that that's what's on their schedule. But if they can salvage and win one time, they're in the playoffs
bro.
again. I'm not saying they can't. That's what I'm saying.
No, I know. I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. I'm with you.
Yeah, they're
I'm
right
a little
there. They just
passionate
got to
about
figure
It's
it out.
Guys, just listen. Snow Tribe players that are listening or watching this pod, just believe in Jonathan Keels on the offense. Make those blocks. Guys on defense. Haas to me, a few more good games and he would have been right behind Trey Baskerville. He's had a decent year for him. It's not DPOY, but it's been decent. Isaac is there. You got Rondo, who's probably one of the better cornerbacks, the defensive backs in the league this year. He looks good. Guys, get hyped for your teammates. Get excited for your teammates. Go out there with some type of gumption, some type of juice. Don't go against the DC Buzz sleep, because those guys on the DC Buzz, if that same team that came out to play the Animals comes out, the Animals are going the fuck home. I mean, the Snow Tribe is going to fuck home. You cannot lay down against the DC Buzz. Those guys are vicious. It's going to be a game. It's probably going to be one of the better games this season, believe it or not. That's a great matchup.
And that game will be at 4 p.m. on A7FL on A7FL.TV.
How did you start that plea?
Listen to your damn quarterback.
You said you got to believe in Keels.
I believe in him.
Do you?
Do I believe in Keels? If I'm on the Snow Tribe right now, going against the DC Buzz,
you have no choice.
Hell yeah, I believe in Keels.
So then what were you saying in the beginning of the season when we were talking about Keels and before
Keels Keels is going to be trash forever. That's my brother. He's going to always be trash. But when Keels is on and he's hot, Keels can make great plays for that team, but he needs the team to believe in him. He needs him to be 100%. But if he's rushing him to the line, let's get to the line. If he has the next play, let's get to the next play. Keels can lead a team to a win like that. That's a very winnable game. They have to believe in the system.
Which quarterback do you believe in more? Mark Diggs, Jonathan Keels?
Damn, I like Mark Diggs. Mark Diggs has better mechanics. I mean, the guy throws the ball in under half a second. I mean, what do you want me to say at that point? Mark Diggs can let that motherfucker fly, and he has the athletes to take off and be exactly where he wants them, they believe in Mark Diggs. I have to go with Mark Diggs because they believe in Mark Diggs.
But why do they believe in Mark Diggs? And you're begging a team to believe in the other guy. That's what I'll just say.
I'm begging him to believe in Keels.
Started your plea with you gotta believe.
You have to.
And if we go back in time and actually pull and do the unfair thing and pull things that you've said, I would question if you were there. So we'll see.
No, because you got to remember, you saying that Keels was my quarterback at one point. You got to remember that. I blocked for that guy.
Yeah.
And I believed
how did those
in him.
Games go?
Hey, guess what? Win, lose, or draw, I believed in Keels every time we went out there. I'm one of those guys. If you're on my team.
What year was that?
Corey, I went to bat for you when people were in my ear telling me you sucked.
I know.
You
still do.
I believed in you. And you saw what we did when people believe in the quarterback. Corey, you didn't run. Some people thought that wasn't possible in this league to have a pocket passer. You just need a fucking phenomenal line, which we had, and very good receivers, which we had, and an elite running back, which we had. Corey, you look like a god against the Kings. We lost a fake game in PA. We believed in you. I'm telling you, the belief.
That year.
Yeah, our defense was all right though. Listen, the belief in your quarterback, the belief in the system gets you way farther than you think.
I play quarterback, and my guys in an 0-5 season where we have maybe the record for differential.
They believe in you.
And they still drive 5 hours. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I will ask you this question, Rob. Whose responsibility is it? Is it the team's responsibility to believe in a guy that, if we're just being real, and I've tried to stay out of this conversation, but I obviously can't. I'm too petty, and that's just who I am. That quit on them in game.
Yeah, how do you reconcile that?
Is it on the players that they need to believe in that guy, or is it that guy based on what he does in the offseason leading up, in the meetings, showing up on time and being there every single time for his team, in the games where it's tough, doing the tough thing and allowing the coach to make a mistake and put in the wrong guy, but still standing there with your guys and not making it about you throwing a temper tantrum. Whose responsibility is it? Is it the team's responsibility?
It's
Believe in the
100%
guy.
the quarterback. It's 100% the quarterback.
So, Snow Tribe, if you have it, if you want a chance, you believe in whoever's in the huddle. But let's be real, Rob. They have every reason not to believe in him, and they have every reason to be saying all of the dumb shit that I hear him constantly saying to me, week in, week out, which I don't even necessarily agree with. And I won't get into the specifics of, but use your imagination.
And on that note, it's time for the top 10. And let's just rip the Band-Aid off an hour and a half into the podcast.
We just went an hour and a half?
No. Well, with Jared Odrick, our first guest.
Yes. So, okay.
And let's go through the top 10. It starts off with the Insomniacs, another week at number one. The Baltimore Watchmen return to the number 2 spot. They're in action, as we said, against the Renegades this Sunday. The Trenton BIC are in the 3 spot. They got the win over the Snow Tribe. They'll be playing the Silk City Animals this Sunday on A7FL.TV. Our 7 o'clock game, it's the Patterson U taking on the Boston Omegas. The U are in the 4 spot. The Sin City Chaos in the 5 spot after defeating the Covington Heist. The Heist falling off the top 10 into the bin of Rob's ass teams. Teams that Rob think are ass. But the Heist had a game fight. They gave
listen, that 10 is almost like a curse.
Yeah.
Everybody's been there, and that's just been dropped immediately.
It is like the middle class of this list every week kind of stays the same. And that's kind of baked in. Like the top third and the bottom third is a gamble. It is a gamble because you don't know what's going to happen. Like the Animals, who were in the top 3 last week, are now number 7. The Tampa Nightcrawlers are at 6. They have a bye week this week. They've all but locked themselves into a shot at the Florida Division Championship. I think it's a battle this weekend, whether it's going to be the Ghosts or the Orange who face them in their divisional championship. The Sick With It, who we talked about, are in the number 8 spot in the Vegas division, the only other Nevada team in the top 10. And then you have the East Orange Renegades at 3-2. They play against the Watchmen this Sunday. And the Aces in the 10th spot, who are undefeated at 2-0. And it made sense to have a undefeated team in the 10th spot. There are teams that will probably feel that they belong on the top 10. One of those teams probably being the OTT. But you gave up 92 points a week ago. You scored 84.
They got it at minimum a top 10, likely top 5 3-on-1 returner.
Yeah, Savion Cunningham is the best part of that team.
Yeah, that's
it.
And
let's not get it twisted. For all the shade we could say about G Hurd, because he's not your traditional quarterback. I've seen him throwing a couple dimes, so I'm just going to give him props.
No, there's elements of that team that are very good, but
yeah, absolutely.
We can't look past the fact they let up 92 and then the next week scored 84. That is a problem. That is I don't know how
crazy.
That is weird. That's the thunder hail of the A7FL.
Exactly. That's a private conversation that Derek Duncan has to have with the leadership in the A7FL Nevada division to figure out what's going on there so that there could be a closing of some of those gaps. And I think as these teams get used to the style and
I think it's just players getting acclimated.
Players. Yeah, absolutely. But how about this? We have our top 10 and we always go through it and say what we want. I think a fair way to kind of put it out there, because the thing is that these are contentious, and when we have these conversations, although the gusto in which we have these has kind of waned because of things have taken care of themselves, but also it's like, man, they're going to hate us anyway, so it is what it is. I would like to offer a chance for all 3 of us to kind of say our one take from the top 10 that in our assessment of it that we thought we want to just add, just to give the full context of some of the things that we've going. And if you guys want a second to think about it, or better yet, probably 20 minutes for me to talk.
I have it. I got mine
go
right
ahead.
now.
Go ahead,
right
Rob.
now. This is my assessment, right? I want the Insomniacs to be very clear. You are number one in the nation. Yes, celebrate, be happy. But don't for 1 second think that you guys are going to easily beat 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah,
It's
like
not easy.
Or
There's
6.
nothing.
Or 6.
Don't for a second think being number one in the nation in the regular season is, hey, it's great. It's a super great accomplishment. Don't get gassed.
If 2 through 4 don't have a crooked number in the loss column, the Insomniacs are second, maybe third. And the only reason, like, if the BIC beat the U, this is a different conversation. If the U beat the Watchmen, different conversation.
There's nothing to talk about.
Yeah. I think that I agree with that. I think that the argument we made about the Renegades in Vegas makes it an interesting conversation between that 7 spot, that 8 spot and that 9 spot. I think that Ohio and Florida are benefiting from having 2 very good teams.
Mm-hmm.
But I think next year, if certain things go certain ways and there's more competition, I think the composition of this top 10 continues to change. And we've seen what happens when the Nightcrawlers face adversity. They haven't faced adversity this season. We saw it in the playoffs last year against Baltimore, the team that basically are now the Watchmen.
Right.
The rare breed plus, because it's not just they're the extinct crocodile species.
Yes.
Rare breed plus.
But when we've seen every team from 2 to 4 in this division, in this top 10, face adversity. The Chaos haven't, the Insomniacs in week 1, the Nightcrawlers in week 6. And that's not saying that the games haven't been competitive, but actual adversity. Those 3 teams have losses to teams that are on their level.
Right.
And I think that when we move closer to the playoffs, once we enter the tournament, it's win or go home. And when you're faced with that probability, how much more is it going to drive you? Because there's cash on the line. These are cash games.
It's a big drive, but that's what makes teams like BIC and the U and the Watchmen so scary now. If you thought you saw those 3 teams peak in the regular season, and that's the scary part.
And this is I think this is a controversial take. I think there's more on the line for the East than there's ever been. The reputation of the Northeast teams in this league are world beaters. They are Galactus. They are the ones who have created, controlled, and dictated this game for over a decade. We are entering our 9th season.
I love that shit.
But when it comes to the 7-on-7 style of football that was created in Town Beef and perfected here in the A7, it has been Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Right now, Nevada riding a hot hand. The Sin City Chaos getting a hot hand. I don't know why I said chaos like Tejas.
Chaos.
I was on a roll too. Fuck.
You were.
When you ride that hot hand into the playoffs, there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose for an Ohio team or a Nevada team in the chip. The expectations are low.
Right.
Everything's on the line for a BIC, a Watchman, or a U. It's the closest we can get to Super Bowl I in this league. Because now it'll be Ryan DePaul writing a letter to Kenny Stansberry, yo, don't fuck up the bag. I'm being hypothetical, of course, but
I know, but the fact that you said that might have just put some fire under Kenny Stansberry's ass.
But it's like, but we've seen Kenny Stansberry and Chris Vera speak. They spoke
Right.
on RTU, on a Facebook Live that you won't have access
Shout
to.
outs to Keith Salmon.
Shout out to Keith Salmons.
Interception on the year, by the way. Don't disrespect his
No,
name. He's still an active player, and he's got the stats to show it.
But there's already that sniping, that shit talk, that back and forth, that, pardon me, Woody and Nick, the parlay between the two sides. And right now, Nevada's playing with house money. The championship is on their coast.
Hold on, though.
No, he's right.
Though.
He's right. No,
No,
Nevada
because
is playing with house money.
Now,
they are.
But when they got to go to Ohio to play, presumably a Chaos team that's really
but
feeling
I'm
themselves.
putting Ohio in this too, because
Whoever, if
Nevada
those teams
has
get to the
one game,
championship, yes.
one game where the expectations for them are to walk in and win. That is the Western Conference Final.
Indeed.
That is the
and
game.
they got to go to Ohio to do it. So that's going to be that. If they get past that, I 100% agree with you, Matt. I was just adding the context that before it gets to that championship, potentially in or Anderson Automotive Arena,
they're going to bully the hell out of that Chaos team. I said it. Put it on the bulletin board.
Right?
No. The Insomniacs are going to bully that Chaos team. Put it on the bulletin board. Put it as a receipt.
Yeah. No,
Get upset
I'm down
about
with
it. I'm not. Listen, it's
Bobby,
playoff
mark
time.
that. Bobby,
you got to go there.
I'm gonna be real with you guys. It's playoff time. I've been playing in this league for almost 15 years. I'm retired now, maybe.
Oh, don't do that.
Mostly.
I lose one of you every week.
Mostly.
I'm retired.
Not in the playoffs recently, man.
It's going to be in the championship game. It's going to be me, Zach Morgan, and Will Franklin calling the game. Please don't do that. I love Zach and Will.
Joking. But when playoff times comes, it's time to rip the Band-Aid off. It's time to stop the coddling. It's time to stop. The Chaos have one damn test. They beat the Covington Heights. Okay, you guys are the Kings of Ohio. Now, if I'm a Chaos, I am focused on that Insomniacs team because I just don't think Sick With It has what it takes to deal with this Insomniacs team right now. Sick With It is a very good team. Very good. But they need more. They need another year under their belts before I can hand it over, or they need to beat the Insomniacs. But right now, from what I'm seeing from the Insomniacs, the West Coast belongs to them. Now, if they F around and lose it, shame on you Insomniac boys, man. It's the same way I felt about BIC. The Northeast belongs to BIC. If they F around and lose it, they have to hear me. I'm picking a BIC Insomniacs championship.
Okay.
If you fuckers don't give me that, I'm going to be pissed, and I'm going to shit talk you for the rest of your careers. You fucked up my picks.
Most of the years that we look at the playoff picture, most of the years we look at the playoff picture, Rob, you'd be able to look at the teams, know the teams, and get it 90%, right?
Yeah. It's almost a clear cut who might get in there.
Now, a couple of years in Jersey, there was like the top four, and then you didn't know, and even sometimes it went the other way, and you were like, oh, I didn't expect that. But I'll say this, my take in what you're saying, Rob, is that if there is a team that somehow does beat the Insomniacs, whether it's another Vegas team or the California team, I think that team is going to be battle tested and take on the Chaos and likely come out, even if it's not the Insomniacs. But we'll see.
Anybody.
And that's going to be a big game. That's going to be a big game for the Ohio. In Ohio, I think that's one of the best ways that this thing could have broken.
It's a bend don't break situation for them, because we all speak to Skylar Hurd, who's one of the coaches for the Sin City Chaos, and their confidence, and I speak to the coach of the Insomniacs too. The confidence of both of those teams are the same energy. They have the same personality, the same DNA. Once they get on
untested.
Yeah,
go ahead, man.
Once they get on the field, Corey, to your point, that's the biggest test for either of those teams to that point. And the reason why I give Nevada the advantage, despite the fact that they have to travel across time zones, and the guys from Cincinnati just had to do a quick drive, is the fact that these guys played in the fall. RTC, Scooter, all these guys, they played in a championship game this calendar year.
They've been playing all year, bro.
Yeah, they didn't win that game.
They play, even though some of the opponents aren't that good, they played 7 other teams with different styles that they had to game plan for and adjust to, and they have to
Can I-
work it out. And I think that that's a big part of it. But
Can
let
I
me
ask
say,
you a question though?
I think so.
Do you think the Insomniacs heard the 3-on-1 where RTC joked about him and Trey and all these elite guys playing on one team? Because that Insomniacs team, we said it before, but
do you
I
think
saw
that?
some film.
Do you
You
think
don't- you
that
don't
it's
remember
the
when I-
do you think a Death Star Miami Heat early 2010 situation?
Yeah.
Is,
You don't
that's
remember
what they're
the-
doing. But does it work year one? It didn't work for the Heat against the Mavs.
Well,
and I know
that's-
it's an apples to chainsaws comparison, but when
What-
we look at that, can we honestly say that a team
When-
that is gelling together for 1 year beat a BIC team that has
Okay,
been in the
that's what you're asking.
trenches?
But what
Is
I'll
it-
say this is before we get to that, Rob, to answer your question, you don't remember when I talked to you guys on the group chat and I was like, "Yo, the Vegas guys are calling me on a group chat and there's
Yeah.
pandemonium going on," because we just talked about a resignation that happened in the league and a coach and that in a relationship from the fall and those guys that made up the core of the pit bosses that had the disgruntled situation with whatever blah 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 blah, right? That started the phone calls to see, yo, this is happening. Yo, what about this? Let's do this. And then we heard RTC put into further context because it seems like he was almost the ringleader in a lot of this. And Scooter Hamilton, who's the quarterback in Insomniacs, who's proven to me beyond a reasonable doubt that, we've always had the question like, who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback? Nah, that's the guy.
Scooter ball.
They started having the Death Star where it's all the guys like, yo, let's just have a conversation. There's no GMs, there's no contracts, and in the A7FL, the Wild West happened in that 2-week free agency period. And all of a sudden, the Insomniacs pulled the biggest heist ever in the A7, and we had a team with the same name in our league, and they got all the players that were basically the mainline players on the championship game, not the championship team, but both rosters in the championship game, and
With
then they put it all
very
together.
limited exceptions.
Now,
Right.
this is what before we go even further, I wanted to do my hot take because I let you guys do it on the top 10. And I just wanted to put this out there because this is something that I did say, and I don't know if I necessarily 100% agree with, but I like being that guy that throws the alternate opinion in. The interesting thing, guys, I would say about our top 10 is if you put no name next to them and just did the metrics, there's a team that has only one loss, has a really great point differential, and in that one loss, it's only by 3 points to a team that we think is one of the best teams in the league. And that team we ranked at 8, and I have a feeling that they're going to be pissed off about that, and rightfully so.
Well,
But guess what? It doesn't matter if you do what I say, because I would say that even though we have the animals in front of them, the night crawlers in front of them, and the chaos in front of them, if you were just basically looking at the resume, I love what the chaos are doing, and I really respect the night crawlers. I like Sickwit's resume better. And even though I know that the animals would likely beat the crap out of Sickwit, and you guys eat it. Because you guys have never played a player like Huff, period.
No. And that's what
I would rate based on resume Sickwit higher than that. So Sickwit would have been my 5 in this, and everybody would have been pushed down accordingly. And then let's go back to the conversation you were starting, Matt, with, which is year one. This is the dream team in Vegas. We heard RTC say, "You think that if I had Trey with me, we could do something against these BIC boys, right?" They did it against so far the regular season, and we'll see what happens in the postseason on their West.
Matt, that was a phenomenal question. No, it's a phenomenal question, right? I love the question. My take on that question, my answer is, if you're saying beating BIC, beating the Watchmen, beating the U is the goal, I'm going to say there's a good chance they don't do that.
Yeah, there's a good chance.
What happens? They
look
though?
like they got a shot, though.
What happens though if it's one score? What happens if it comes down to the same? What happens if it comes down to how last year's championship ended?
It's a moral victory for Vegas. It's a holy shit for the Northeast.
But what's a better? What's the better outcome?
For the league or for the team?
You can't ask two Northeast guys that. You know what I'm gonna say.
No. But for the league or for the team?
For the team, for the league, a competitive championship obviously is what you want. I want a competitive title game.
In most championship runs, though, when you're that close, like the U were last year, and you're only 2 yards away on the extra point to tie it, credit the U, because what happened in their offseason was a lot of turmoil, guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And credit Ryan Shamar, because I think he's done a better job this year galvanizing the troops and bringing a roster that didn't on paper just automatically look better than every team that they played. Not that their roster doesn't look beautiful. And I know that I'm playing with them this week, and I'm not saying that because of this. They're going to try for the net points
They're
anyway.
very kind and handsome and reasonable men.
I tried to preempt this thing when we were talking about net points last week because I saw a week in advance. So that's already over. For them to get back the number 2 spot in the bye is they have to win out and net points it. And guess what their net points is that they're looking at when they have to face the Renegades defense, which is only allowed, speaking of points, 52 on the season, I believe.
Yeah, they have outscored their opponents 103 to 52.
And other than teams that play absolutely zero competition, no disrespect to Woody Ness Charles and Joey Bate from the parlay, which I've been told is going to have to be interesting after the beatdown that they just took.
Oh boy!
And yeah, they tried to have RTU on to talk shit about my beatdowns, and RTU had my back. So I'm gonna just shout them out. Check out their show; it's great. You guys got your ass kicks too. Watch out for karma; it's a bitch. But
that's why we're podcasters, gentlemen. That's why we're podcasters.
Well, I also play, so I got to deal with the other side of it, which I'll take. And it's my responsibility, Omegas. You guys ball out, and I play like trash. But no, don't laugh at me, Rob. Come on.
Get your ass back on track. What the hell are you talking about? Let's go. You lost me for a second. I mean, what is he talking about? Let's get back to it.
Let's get back to it.
Yeah.
I have no idea where I just was.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I think on that note, we will go to a tiny URL.
Well.
Go to tiny.
Yeah, but then I started having too many jokes, and then you said get back on track, and then you put me on the spot, and I was like,
I don't know where we are anymore.
Shit.
Go to tinyurl.com/A7FL merch. That's tinyurl.com/A7FL merch. Action starts this Sunday live on A7FL.TV at 1 p.m. Eastern. Starting us off this week, it will be a battle between the BIC and the Animals. That one's going to be a fantastic showdown.
Good game, yeah.
4 o'clock, it's the Buzz and the Snow Tribe, and we close out the day with the U and the Omegas. Live look-ins across the league, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. Some big games out in Vegas. The Sick With It are in action. The Force, obviously, in action. The Force and the OTT, I believe, are a game this week. That one's going to be a real interesting battle. You all right there, Rob?
J-Rock's gonna whoop Corey's ass.
yeah, because you provoked him by saying he's trash. I didn't even say he's trash, but I'm gonna have to take the brunt of it.
J-Rock gonna fuck you up.
Why does he have a Maryland accent now?
Why do you have him now? Obviously.
You can buy merch with all of our dumb faces on it at tinyurl.com/A7FL merch. That's tinyurl.com/A7FL merch. I think I'm going to have to break this pod up because we're over an hour. But we'll be dropping on Friday, we'll be dropping my interview with Jared Odrick. It was a really insightful conversation about CTE, mental health, creativity, and finding yourself after football, and and he talks highly about the league, talks highly about what it means to have this as an outlet for athletes, for men, for competitors, to have that competitive fire and that competitive spirit going. So please watch out for that interview. It obviously will be on our podcast feed here on A7FL.TV. And
yeah, I remember when he got drafted, because it's recently draft time from Penn State, and I remember him also being really young entering the league. So it's an interesting perspective from a guy that's basically done with his original professional career, and he's basically younger than me, right? Isn't he?
I believe he's around my age. Yeah, he's around 33. So
yeah, he's younger than us. That's
But-
crazy. He's already lived through an entire profession, and I'm still dragging on trying to get to glory days. Oh man.
But
Like-
I love
but
it.
keep watch for that. It'll drop on the pod feed on Friday. We're back next week with another episode. We're 1 week. Next week's a bye week, so we'll recap the madness and maybe do a top 10. We might do one next week.
Oh,
to-
we'll do a top 10. Will it include teams' names? We'll decide. We will decide. It will be based on your behavior, audience. Shout out to RTU, by the way. He got 1,000 views. That's
Yeah,
my guy.
shout out to him getting everybody in the A7FL players groups to watch what was one of the most compelling conversations I've seen in quite a long time. But we do a pretty good job here on the podcast.
Mostly.
For the most
Except
part.
for when I derail it and forget what I'm talking about, right? Yes.
But Jesus take the wheel. Better as long as it's not Corey taking the wheel, we should be fine. For Big Rob Fabian, for Corey Hammond, I'm Matt Ryan, reminding you, as always, don't be an asshole.
I'll try.